Some of the best proof of alien abduction, actually, that we have is actually video footage that was taken between 2007 and 2009 on various occasions by fishermen in Turkey over the sea near Kumburgaz, Turkey. And it was various incidents that occurred. And some of you out there have probably looked at this video, I'm sure, and some of you probably have not. And it's actually odd that it's not as popular, especially after all these years. I mean, you go on YouTube and there's a channel set up specifically for this event these series of events that happened, and there really hasn't been a lot of talk about this over the years. And it's really odd because actually it represents some of the best evidence out there. I mean, if you're not convinced of the extraterrestrial reality, well, maybe this is something here that might nudge you into reality finally. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is like some of the best stuff I've ever seen. Now, I know people who listen to the podcast won't be able to see this, but I will. In the description here, I will have links to some of these videos and some of the analysis, particularly the analysis. There was an analysis done of these videos by Mario Valdez Santiago out of Chile that he presented in 2012. And there's a site, he gives you a summary of the case and, basically lays out what he found. And, this is a guy who went into this a complete non-believer. Basically, he thought he was about to debunk something, and and the final result was something else. But anyway, I'm going to read a little bit of this, what he wrote in his analysis here, and I will leave the link for this as well as for a series of, there's a YouTube channel that has some videos posted. There's another site where there's a bunch of stills that you could look at. But I'm going to talk about what he, the case here that he talks about here. It says the summary of the case. This case developed in the location of Kumburgaz between the years 2007, 2008, and 2009. Its main witness was a night guard named Yalcin Yalman, who, while on duty, registered video of strange objects that appeared at sunrise, like floating or changing while in flight over the sea on the coast of Marmara. Yalman was able to film many video segments, some during the day, accompanied by witnesses with whom he spoke to while he was filming. One singularity of this case was that the images were made with a camera that had an adapter for close-ups of 200 times optical, achieving a great amount of detail of the objects. At first, the videos were analyzed and made public by the Sirius UFO organization, directed by the researcher Haktan Akdogan. This case made big news in Turkey and in other countries as well. It also started a great debate between the official members of the Turkish scientific community. Specifically, the National Council for the Study of Science and Technology, which is the acronym for that is TÜBİTAK, got interested in analyzing the original footage with the intention of determining that the video was nothing more than a hoax, gambling on the idea of scale models, toys, or CGI. The original tape was handed to the TÜBİTAK representatives on live TV in their own headquarters. Once the analysis was concluded, they gave an official report from which we took the following fragment. This is what the TÜBİTAK said back at the time. The objects observed on the images have a structure made of a specific material and are definitely not any kind of CGI animation or in any means a type of special effects used for simulation in a studio or for video effects. So the conclusion of this report is that the observations are not a model, marquee, or a fraud. And at the last part of the report, it's concluded that the objects observed have a physical structure and are made of materials that don't belong to any category of airplanes, helicopters, meteors, Venus, Mars, satellites, artificial lights, Chinese lanterns, etc., and that it mostly fits in the category of UFOs. unidentified flying objects and of unknown origin. Other analysis was done by video specialists, image edition, and special effect companies from Japan, Russia, and Turkey, all ending up with the same conclusion. In Chile, I asked Professor Jose Atenas to technically examine the videos, an expert in graphics and video with more than 30 years of experience on television. In his appreciation, Jose Atenas also came to the same conclusions that the images are authentic. So far, nobody has been able to demonstrate that the recordings are products of tricks or some type of manipulation. Therefore, the debate has concentrated more over the nature and origin of the objects filmed by Yalchin Yalman. And then he goes on to say that, he in the beginning he was looking into himself, was trying to find evidence of fraud, but he didn't. That's not what he found. He found no evidence of fraud. Instead, he focused a lot on the occupants that could be seen in some of these videos. You could see the occupants, and he identified actually several occupants in the videos. And he made still pictures of it here, and you have to see this to know what I'm talking about. But I will try to describe. Basically, there's your classic. He identified your classic, gray type. With the big head. The oversized almond-shaped eyes. He identified those. And he also identified what appears to be an insectoid creature, right? Looks like something like a praying mantis. And, if you look at this and you see what I'm talking about here, you basically see, and there's another figure that's, in one of the videos, like if you do, close-ups and you analyze it closely, you could see that there's a body, like someone horizontally stretched out. To me, this looks more like a human. And, we've heard the stories, people getting abducted by extraterrestrials, and they're brought onto ships, and they can't really do anything. They're powerless, and they see the grays, and sometimes they see these, insect-type creatures as well. And we've heard of, this has been, how many times have people reported this over the years? It's been many times. So, and here we have, I think, what we're seeing here, and it's really not discussed in this analysis. He's just pointing out what he sees. And even another thing about this was in 2009, there was a UFO conference in Turkey somewhere, and the late Dr. Roger Lear, who was famous for, he got interested in this subject, particularly interested in implants, alien implants, and he would actually surgically remove some of these things from these implants, and there was, from people, and basically the material he claimed was otherworldly. And he died in 2014, but in 2009. These videos there was various videos filmed. Okay, in 2007 there was a couple of times that they filmed it. 2008 there was some different videos that were filmed by this same guy, and in 2009. And in 2009 during this conference, and Roger Lear was attending it, and about 7 or 8 other people, they decided to go check out this place, this spot. It was again, on the beach of this ocean, where this guy was filming this stuff. And so they went there, and they all witnessed it. There was a bunch of people there all at the same time. They saw this craft that would show up like in the distance in the ocean from this location, the same place where this guy's been filming this stuff for years, for the last couple of years before that. So, it wasn't just him. He had other people with him at different occasions during the filming of these objects. And in fact, in 2009, there was a pretty nice group there. So they all saw it with their own eyes, and they watched and plus they were watching the stuff unfold, the stuff he was filming live unfold on a video on a monitor at the same time. But then when you look at the stuff closely, it becomes evident that you could actually see occupants, the beings, and what they look like. And it's pretty chilling actually to see what they look like, what they actually look like. You have artist renditions of these things, but when you see what they actually look like, it's a little bit scarier than what Hollywood might show you. Okay, and And not only that, but part of this analysis uncovered that what they're doing was basically manipulating somebody that was laying down, another humanoid figure that was laying down. And I'm going to give you my conclusions on this, what I think is happening here. And it doesn't make me right, but this is pure speculation. Okay, for one thing, these spaceships that they were filming over the sea, right? At times, like in some of the videos, it seemed like they were just, you couldn't see anything inside. But then in other videos, it looked like a hatch was opened, or a certain section of the ship became transparent. It's hard to know because it's so, they're taking it from so far away. But then when this hatch was open, or this window or whatever it was that was opened, or maybe that part of the ship became transparent for whatever reason, you could see these beings moving, doing something inside, and it's pretty clear. And some of the stills of this, it's very clear that, yeah, okay, you can see these things. Yes, these things are real, and then when the analysis eventually showed that there was a body in front. They were basically manipulating somebody that was laying down, a humanoid figure that was laying down. These gray style creatures, the classic gray style creatures, along with this praying mantis type being. And meanwhile, there's something laying down there. Now it's hard to tell what's laying down there, but I've come to the conclusion, and it's probably, and I'm probably right. I think it was a human being, and I think what's happening here, and what was happening there, I don't know if it's happening there anymore these days. I mean, that's, the last video taken was 12 years ago. So what I think is going on, what was going on there, is that apparently they were using this spot over the ocean near Turkey to as a place for peace and quiet away from everybody else, to do what they do when they abduct a human. That's what it seems like to me. And when you look at these pictures and images, I think that it tells you the story. I mean, basically that's what's happening here. What else are they doing? What else would they be doing? We've heard these stories before. What the purpose is behind it, who knows? What they're doing, is it some sort of a hybridization program? Is it just a simple examination? Or, what are they doing? Like this body that's laid out horizontally before these creatures. If it is a human, why? What are they doing? What is this an abductee from somewhere within the area, or who knows? But I think that the evidence in this video and these images, that points to that. It makes sense. It all, we've heard this, we've heard the reports from people before, and that's what's going on here. We're actually seeing images, the actual only images that we know of, unless there's something that maybe some governments might be keeping secret from us, of the actual occupants. But not only do we see the occupants, but they actually have one of the people that they abduct, and they're doing something to that being, to that person. What are they doing? I don't know. But apparently this goes on for a long time in these videos. And maybe, again, was this a certain spot that these beings were using all the time, and they had no idea that somebody like this fisherman from Turkey had a camera that had this, he I guess apparently what happened here, he was seeing these images, or he was seeing these objects over the ocean. He saw something, and he decided to get some sort of a camera that could zoom in on it so he could see what it is. And he got a really good one that has a really good zoom on it. And, he was able to zoom in and actually see the craft, and not only the craft, but the occupants inside on some occasions. There was certain different occasions during the 2007, 2008, and 2009 where you could actually see the occupants, where this hatch looked like it was opened, or maybe that section of the ship became transparent. And you can only see these the ship. The actual physical characteristics of the ship and everything else within at nighttime, when in some instances the moon was shining down on it. You see the moon not only shining on the top of this vessel, whatever it is, but also on the heads of these beings, because there was light shining on their heads, and you can see it reflecting. And then in some instances when it was getting light out, you couldn't see the craft, but you couldn't see the physical the metal of the craft, but you could see lights. It's incredible footage, and it should be. And now you see, this was a big story back in Turkey back in the day, and in some other part, Japan and Russia seemed to be interested in it as well, and they looked at it, and you see, I saw this people from Chile were looking into it, and I remember reading about this and seeing the videos, back in the day. But you think you'd go online, you think this would be, one of the things that would be talked about more often because this is the best proof we have. This is probably of anything out there that's been filmed or photographed. I mean, this is the best we have as far as the occupants are concerned of these flying saucers, of these spacecraft or whatever they are. This is the best evidence we have of not only the craft itself, but also occupants. I mean, that they actually have the occupants on film, on video. It's amazing. It's actually amazing. And it's just something that it's hard to believe that this isn't talked about more. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything in the mainstream media with regard to this. I think it popped up in a documentary here and there. It was mentioned, but I've never really seen anything, like other than the people that are, like this, I've heard it on, George Knapp on his radio program. He had, you could listen to an interview that he did in a podcast with Roger Lear not long before he died on this subject, and I just think that this is something that needs to be looked at and talked about more. I mean, this is the best we got. I mean, this is better than this. This is much better. The footage, everything is much better than the stuff that the Pentagon gave us. Right, way better. Way better. I mean, the only difference between that and this is that it's official, because that stuff is, that comes from an official source. This isn't official. It needs to be official before anybody finally admits the reality of aliens from other worlds being present on our world, on our planet.